we're back with another episode of To the Moon. And in this episode, we got two rising superstars in the AstroFlipping community. These guys are definitely getting things done. Come to find out, they're in the middle of a negotiation right now. Before we even started the show, they were chit-chatting and spitballing numbers, figuring out how they're going to make their next big bag. Welcome to the Moon, Ryan and Michael. Happy to have you guys here.
What's up? What's going on? Happy to be here.
Yep.
Amazing. Amazing. So I've had an opportunity to get to know you guys a little in the community. But of course, there is, I'm sure, somebody watching this right now who is like, who are these dudes and where are they from and what are they about? So if you would kindly rewind us back to where you guys were before you found real estate investing as a career, what was going on in your world, and how you found this insane niche of wholesale real estate.
It's funny because we were all friends at his gym, and Brittany Berryman actually introduced us to the whole Astro community. And just to rewind back a little bit, I was in real estate a little bit as far as a property manager.
Yep.
I talked it over with my wife, and prior to even doing property management, like, this is what I want to do. I want to do real estate investing. I want to, buy and hold. Before I do that, though, I want to learn how to manage property. So that's how I got into property management. And then I quickly realized this sucks.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of money in it either.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, I got to figure out other stuff. So we looked into wholesaling. We actually went to some guru conferences and shows and stuff. And we're like, oh, the way they put it out there it's kind of shitty. I don't know.
I mean, it rubs you the wrong way.
It does.
Look, yeah.
It depends on the energy of the individual that's talking, right? I think part of what myself and Pace and Jerry and Brent have been trying to do in the industry of wholesale is to elevate it, to level us up as investors, to have us all act in an ethical manner, to be transparent, to be honest, to do business in a way that's going to make people want to continue to do business with you, and to give yourself a reputation of integrity, right? And these are the foundations of solid humanity, let alone being a solid business person, right? And so just like you, when I first started looking at what was going on in the world of wholesaling, I was very turned off. I thought, man, this feels like a snake pit. Like the way that these guys are describing how to do a deal doesn't sit right with me. And so I just did things differently. And of course, here we are today with this thriving community and all these people who have a completely different take on what it means to wholesale. So you go to a guru event, it feels crappy to you. How did you unwind that? How did you get over that?
So I continue just to, grind on the whole property management, save my money. But it's a rat race, right? I wasn't getting anywhere. So then we're at the gym and Brittany's like, yeah, have you ever heard about wholesaling? I'm like, yeah. It's, you know what? I looked into it. It's not for me.
I never had at that point.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that was.
And so she's like, check this guy out. He's my mentor, Jamil. He's been doing great. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll check it out. Kind of blew her off a little bit. She's like, no, here. A couple weeks later, she's like, check it out. These are the numbers I'm putting out. This is how much I'm making. I was like, get out of here. This is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So I was like, all right, let me really dive into it. Saw your videos. I was like, all right, this is a different approach. He's one of us. That's how I saw it. He's actually teaching. He's being a part of the community. He's actually, one of us. I was
There's something ethical by the way you speak that doesn't land with a lot of people when they talk. It just comes off like there's always a but that would follow, like, oh yeah, you can wholesale, and it's like they're always trying to sell something, it felt like. Whereas like when you speak, there's all that free value that you put on your videos.
Exactly.
It just jumps off the screen, and it just sounded appealing in that way, because it's like, yeah, I would love to be a part of something that just seems like you're doing right. Like you always say, like, I'm giving you the best offer as is condition of what your current property is actually worth. I'm not going to lowball you in that sense that you think is a lowball offer. This is what I think you're legitimately going to get out of it. And it just sounded, I don't know, it just rang. It just jumps off the page, basically.
the way I look at it, right, is that I have parents and they're elderly.
Mhm.
And of course, if I wasn't in the real estate business and somebody called them up and if my parents needed to sell the home, how would I want my parents to be treated?
Yeah.
What would I want that interaction to be like? What would of course, when people are doing business, there's an expectation that the people involved in business are going to make a profit, right? There's nobody believes that there's not going to be something in it for you to do the deal. Everybody understands that there's going to be a financial incentive for you. But how I like to see it is that, look, when we're approaching a seller or an agent or whatever, and we're offering on a distressed property that's in original condition or needing work, then we know that an investor has to buy this property. And then if an investor has to buy this property, there has to be a potential for them to force appreciation and make money on it. I would rather give you 100% of what the property is worth in its terrible condition right now and gamble on my forced appreciation. And so where I see the profit margin of a wholesaler coming in, it's not from the homeowner. I'm not taking your equity because that
Right.
new equity isn't there until somebody takes a financial risk. I'm going to go to the person who's going to make the financial risk and ask them to give me a piece of their potential profit, to take a little bit less on their potential profit, let me make a little bit of money for finding them the deal so that they can go do what they're going to do. But at least we've given this homeowner the best that they can get in terms of a cash solution, right? And so when you look at it from that perspective, our job is to be as fair as possible, to try to help the homeowner get as much money as they can, but knowing we have to make money on it and that they are aware of that, right? That's, I think, one of the things that people didn't want to disclose, and why there was just so much griminess in the wholesaling industry as it was that it was just this big secret. We don't want the seller to know what we're doing. We don't want anybody to know what we're doing. We got to lie about who's coming into the house. We got to lie about this. We got to lie about that. We got to lie about this. And it turns into the story of dishonesty. And the entire time that you're doing it, you feel like, man, what if I get caught? Right? Or like, what if, and it's like, who wants to do that? Right? Who wants to be involved in anything that is going to be stressful like that, or create anxiety? Or even, how do you go to sleep at night feeling that you're doing something that's not good? Right? Like you can't build a business on that and feel honorable at the same time. And so I appreciate that you guys noticed that and that resonated with you. And of course, coming from a referral like Brittany Berriman, who you've got to see grow and explode in the community as she had, and just the fact that she was able to build such a beautiful business for herself to where she bought a $2 million home from the profits that she made in AstroFlipping, right? She's living in her dream home, in her dream life, able to do CrossFit, take care of her kids, show up, be there for them for their auditions, be a loving and present wife. I mean, she's got everything well-rounded, plus she makes millions of dollars in the business, right? And so you get to see somebody like her, and you can tell by talking to her for 5 minutes that she's an ethical, good human being. Then you're like, okay, well, tell me more, right? I want to align with where you align. So you guys find yourselves in the AstroFlipping community. What happens next?
So I brought him along. I was like, hey, since we're both starting families, I think this would be a great opportunity to let's split the work in half and, build something together, because we both want to provide something greater for our families.
Yeah, because at that point, I had a daughter. She was about almost 2, and my son was just born a month prior to going to the Mastermind that landed a couple years ago on Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's the one we had attended, and that's when we were kind of all in. Like, we just need because he had his son as well. And so we were just trying to, just think about long term and because he's in the bar, how would you phrase it? The bar industry, hospitality. Yeah. And then I have my own gym and stuff, and you're always trying to find a different thing to do. And why not try something with a partner where we have crazy schedules? Because sometimes running a gym, like I'd be there like at 5 a.m. and I wouldn't get home until like 7 or 8 in the evening,
Right.
we were just trying to figure out different means to support our families. And obviously knowing Brittany and seeing what she's done, having her job, having 2 kids and all that kind of stuff, we knew it was obviously possible.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was a big driving force for us going to the Mastermind, which, by the way, that Mastermind produced a lot of killers. There's a lot of killers at that Mastermind.
John Mayo, John Galan.
Yeah, there was a bunch in there.
I tell you guys when you're thinking about coming, I show you that diagram of the pendulums, right? I'm like, look, this is what it is, right? You don't understand this, but okay, look at the way that this pendulum is going, right? Look at the cadence or the period of this specific pendulum and how it's vibrating. Okay, now you put it around other pendulums, and what ends up happening is that they all get into sync. Everything lines up and starts to vibrate in the same way. And humans, we're the same thing. We're vibratory beings, right? And so when we get into a room like that and we put ourselves in that space for 3 days where we're praying together, meditating together, learning together, earning together, talking about best practices, diving into the solutions that we need to grow our businesses and scale them. When we're doing that at a high level like that, in that concentrated period of time, in that concentrated energy bucket, what ends up happening is you guys all find a matching resonance, a matching frequency. And then you take that out into your lives and into your world, and that starts to reverberate around the people that you guys are working with and doing business with, and it just becomes this incredible thing. And so it doesn't surprise me one bit to know that that's what happened as a result of one of those interactions. It's a natural phenomenon, but it's never really spoken about. People don't understand it from a energetic perspective and from a vibratory perspective of what happens to us molecularly when we're in these rooms, right? When we're around people that are doing things that are inspiring to us. And so you guys come to this mastermind, you guys get into it. What's the next progression?
Well, I mean, you talked about it at the mastermind. Even all the speakers said it. It's like, you're going to have a hangover from this mastermind.
Right.
And we did, so we took a step back and kind of just regrouped.
Yeah.
And now doing it part-time, it took us a little bit longer to regroup.
Yeah.
So going into, was it 2022, 2023?
That would have been 2023.
Two?
Yeah, going into 2023 then. Yeah.
Yeah. So then right off the bat, we hit the new year, landed a deal up in, was it Brighton, Denver?
Yeah.
Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so, we did some agent outreach. We started doing some systems. We started being consistent with the whole outreach. And so it's funny that you brought that up earlier about being fully transparent. We kind of ran into that little bit of not being completely transparent with the agent at the moment.
Yep.
We learned the hard way because at the end of the day, we got the deal done.
Yeah.
But the relationship was kind of broken at the end.
Sure.
No fault at us.
It was a really funny voicemail.
Yeah.
By the way.
I think it was just miscommunication. And so we had to salvage that. He jumped on the phone with her and kind of repaired it. And she actually opened up about the whole wholesaling aspect of it. And she's no longer being an active agent. She's now a wholesaler.
She's like, I don't want what happened to me to happen to anybody else. But then I joined a mentorship to learn wholesaling so I could start investing in my own fix and flips. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. But it was interesting. It was funny because we had no ill intentions.
No, not.
And just the way how it worked out. I mean,
do you guys still do business with her?
We tried to reach out
a couple times, and she had sent me some stuff, but they hadn't panned out. But it was just really funny being on the other end of the conversation.
Yeah,
pretending like, oh yeah, this and that. Any deals recently? Well, I had this one and this person.
And she's probably wholesaling herself right now, so she doesn't have anything.
She's trying.
Or she's trying to do it. She doesn't understand, or she doesn't really want to give you the deal now because she's like, well, I can just do the deal myself.
Well, exactly. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if I always tell her, like, if you need help.
The positive that there's two of us is that it's like if something had occurred with him, at least I can come in the other end potentially and just kind of see if I could salvage it or
apparently
as a different person.
Yeah, I was the bad cop in that situation. He was a good cop.
It was pretty good. I don't know why. felt bad. I don't know. It wasn't that it was just a weird situation. She sounded really sweet, but I don't know. She kind of just took it. She double ended it too. That was.
Well, she just didn't know because you guys had probably omitted some facts that she thought she needed to know, which you learned about, right? So you learned in your following interactions with people evolved because of how that felt. You were like, oh, I didn't like how this felt. It felt like she was thinking like we were doing something wrong, which we were totally in our rights to do. Maybe we could have communicated this to her better. So moving forward, let's be more communicative. And so how has that evolved for you guys? How's the communication and transparency been?
We get a lot of hang-ups, which is fine. It's it's part of the game. I mean, you learn to live with it.
Yeah, I don't mind
but you feel better. And then the ones that actually are like responsive to it, those are the ones you keep in your back pocket.
Sure.
Those are the ones you build relationships with. They get it, they understand it. And those are the long-term relationships that we look for. So as being fully transparent, we try to do it right from the first initial conversation.
Yeah.
That's why there's no room for any type of like deceptive or type of evil ways that we're trying to do business, because we're not about that. So we try to be full transparent, even with wholesalers too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We get a lot of wholesalers that are trying to be greedy. They only want end buyers.
Yeah.
And we just explain to them, like, this is how we do business, full transparency. If you want a JV or if we add a fee on top, that's fine with me. And, you know, like we can get through this first deal. And then if it works out, great, we can do some more. But if you're not happy the way that we do it, totally fine. It's you know?
Because like you even said at the Mastermind, like the number one deal killer is like greed. So like I'll approach it like straight up and I'll be like, look, I'll be transparent the entire way with you. But if you're gonna like try to shortchange and squeeze the deal where we can't necessarily make something together when we're all really like $0 in, none of our real money's going into this, like I can't necessarily work with greed. And some people like then that like just lowers the curtain and it's like, okay. And sometimes you get feedback that's like, well, I don't JV, or sometimes you go, you know, that's really cool of you. And like and then those are the people that you start to interact with more and more and more and more. Because there's a respect there. It's like, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna deceive you or anything.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about the wholesalers that like have the attitude of, oh, I don't JV with people. Well, typically those are the ones that are canceling their deals on a higher frequency because they don't have all their deals sold. They're not able to really get a full exposure of their opportunities because they have that lack mindset, their scarcity thinking, you know, and so they're like, oh, it's all mine or it's nobody's. Okay, well, you know, great. So I'd rather take 50 cents on a deal than take 0, you know, on a deal. And so that's just the issue, I think, is that there's still, you know, in any business, in any industry, there's going to be people that have a specific way of seeing the world. And of course, we're going to run into those people as well. And so, you know, you weed them out, you decide who's of your vibration, who's acting like you, who understands what you guys are about, and then continue to develop and build a relationship with them. So you've been doing that. How has the business evolved for you since? What do you guys, what's been on the table lately?
Lately, so to end 2023, we closed out a deal in November. 2023 was a lot of ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the system that we wanted to run. We were very act heavy, and we started kind of act heavy. And this year in Q1, we did close to 50 grand. And then in Q2, we kind of shifted mindset a little bit because we felt like we were leaving a lot of money on the table. And so we're like, all right, even though we did have buyers, we wanted to go really heavy on the buyers and do an outreach for them, which is, I mean, nothing to like the other wholesalers, dispo wholesalers, but we felt like we can do stuff in-house as well.
Of course. You have to. You've got to, you know, look, working with a dispo wholesaler is absolutely acceptable. But it's also better for you to be able to sell your own deals than, you know what I mean? So, you know, when a dispo wholesaler is the answer, amazing. So you have to be open to that. And when you've got a buyer in your back pocket that can take it and you can keep the entire profit margin, amazing, right? So you've been building a buyer's list. How have your profit margins changed since?
So quarter two,
quarter
we just
two-
got stuff in the pipeline currently. And like we were saying prior, like we have one right now that we're trying to potentially counter.
Yeah. So it kind of in quarter two kind of slowed down our business since we weren't as heavy on the acquisition side.
Got it.
So I see it turn around. You're talking about the pendulum.
Yeah.
I feel like it's getting there where everything's just starting to like flow. So right now we're still doing the outreach. We just started another campaign this past week.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of deals coming through. Not all of them are hitters, but so everything's been rolling smoothly, and I just feel like a lot of good stuff's going to happen. In the past, we try to scale and build the business too quickly and too fast.
Mm-hmm.
We actually,
shiny object.
Yeah. We wanted to like grab, and it happens to everyone, I think. But we hired a VA, didn't work out. It was bleeding money. So
sure did.
Yeah. So right now I'm a little bit more full time at this point. So yeah, we're making it happen. It's good things are coming forward. So
I love it. Us more on the act side, reaching out to the buyers, because rather than being such like for example, like all of like SoCal, and now once we start getting all the criteria, it's kind of like narrowing everything down a little bit more of how consistent of where people are buying. So then we know we can really focus on a specific area more, which it allows us to reach out to those agents we know out there more to see if more deals are flowing through. Mm-hmm. So it if anything, it just opened our perspective a little bit more, even though we're closing it down in terms of like where we are in the map.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just being organized.
Yeah.
Being organized is huge.
Yep.
So having our CRM, having our automated system doing stuff for us, and then a lot of the back end took a while for me to like get everything situated, but it's starting to pay off now. I mean, there's a lot of headaches because I'm not a tech guy, and so there's a lot of
you're talking to you're preaching to the choir here. I hate it, but it's a necessary thing, and that for me, I was very lucky. I had Hunter and Josiah there to help me systematize and organize the chaos that was in my mind of how I like to operate, right? And so you need that balancing energy, that balancing force in your business that can say, hey, look, your superpower is to make connections, is to create relationships and to develop those relationships. My superpower is to take all of those relationships and harness them into an organized fashion so that we can systematize the way that we follow up with these people. And that's the magic, right? That's where you get the consistency in the business, because at the end of the day, we know that you've got to follow up with your prospect 8 to 13 times before you're going to get a deal out of them. And so that's going to require organization. You have to know, when was the last time I reached out to this person? And when was the last time that we, connected with this buyer? Or when's the last time we connected with this wholesaler? And so all of these aspects and organizational tools are very necessary to create this in a way that's going to provide consistency, especially considering you're doing this full time now. So, when you entered the community, what was your first impression? Because I know you probably were like, well, Brittany's got all these words and things to say about him. What was your guys' first thought when you guys came in?
Well, I mean, the verbiage and the lingo, I was familiar with it. I was listening to Bigger Pockets podcast, and so for the last couple of years prior to joining Wholesaling, like I knew the verbiage, the language. So I would say when it came down to like the Zoom meetings, I was a little gun shy. Like all these people are actually doing deals. They know what they're talking about as far as wholesaling. And so it took a while to like jump over that hill or that mountain and actually put myself out there. But once you do, it's just so rewarding, because the support that you get from the community and yourself and people that are doing it, I mean, it's like, you can't pay that back. That's tenfold. So, I mean, that really helped a lot. It's just that barrier. And that goes along with, the outreach as well. When you're talking to agents, all it takes is one good conversation. And then you're just snowballing the rest of the way.
Yeah, if you're coaching a class with like an AirPod in, trying to listen to the Zoom calls and hear the questions. And majority of my reach was through Facebook, hitting up the groups, asking questions, reaching out to people that were like searching through the group, who's posted California or LA or Orange County or anything like that. And then I would direct message them, hey, check your DM, this and that. And then that's how I started connecting with a lot of people in the same market. But the calls, I was always from afar, because I was like in the middle of like running my gym and trying to listen at the same time.
I mean, to be honest, even now it's pretty hard. We pick up our kids around the time you have your Zoom calls, so it's like we try to get in as much as we can. But you know, it's not as easy when you have little ones running around. So
yeah, it's definitely difficult to juggle it all. But you know, of course, getting into watching the recorded calls are super important because everybody else's questions, they tend to come up, right? Like you're gonna find, wow, I just had that circumstance, or oh, I'm walking into a situation right now that kind of mirrors this. What are they doing here? And so you get to hear a best practice, or you get to hear how somebody navigates a specific situation, and then now you've got that tool in your tool belt to move forward. How's your interaction been with the Keegley franchise out there?
So when we first started out, we were really close with Joe. Like he helped us out a lot. Yeah. And then when we were doing a lot of like Colorado stuff, we kind of disconnected from him a little bit, even though we were still kind of communicating.
That was Slater. Slater was
was a big one in Colorado as well. Yeah. They've been great. We have
great dudes.
Unfortunately, we haven't done a deal with them, but I mean, that's just it's bound to happen eventually. But
of course.
So,
but a lot of support. They're helpful to you guys in finding buy numbers and doing all the things.
Definitely.
Yeah, like because like everybody has their appraisal rules and stuff like that, and just seeing like slight differences that they're noticing in the market of like, oh, you know, we're starting to notice that at this specific price range, maybe a bedroom is a little bit more than what we were assuming before. Like that just changed our numbers together. Like, why are we keeping getting like outbid? Like our numbers were so solid, and how is somebody getting this like 20, 30K above us or whatever? So we were starting to figure that stuff out. Like
SoCal in general, it's a little tricky because there's so many pockets,
so many little subdivisions, like little ones, and like just hopping a street, you should be okay sometimes. But we try to do the whole time travel appraisal rule rather than trying to hop around like crazy.
But not even that. It's just certain subdivisions could be at a certain price point, and if you go one block to the left, it drops dramatically. So it's like
you're in a completely different neighborhood.
Exactly. So it's like
trippy.
It can get a little tricky. But SoCal, I mean, that's our backyard, so we kind of know it.
Because like even where I live, like if I go one street over, I'm actually in a different sort of city, and then 2 blocks over, I'm in another one, and then it's really even where I live. Like I see it when I go on.
Are you in Mid City? Where are you specifically?
I'm in Burbank. So
okay, cool. Yeah. So you're by the valley and all that. Yeah.
If I go one street over, I'm in North Hollywood. But if I go like left, I'm in Toluca Woods. If I go a little further, I'm in Toluca Lake. It's just like there's so much going on, and just doing that alone. And if I find something there that an agent sends me, just comping that could get a little tricky because it's like, man, that's entirely different zip code, entirely different like anything. Yeah, like prices and houses are so different.
So yeah, I mean, when we run numbers, we do all like a variety of different methods. We do the percentage ARV percentage, and then we also do max allowable offer where we do 0.93%.
Minus the repairs.
Yeah. And that I mean, some contractors will do a job cheaper than other ones, and then
of course. That's why I find that specific formula to be a little harder because it's subjective, right? We've got too many variables in that one where it's like, okay, well, who says how much this rehab is going to be, and who's deciding what the desired wholesale fee is, right? And so I like to look at things from, you know, what makes me more competitive versus where am I going to be safer, you know, and you know, at the end of the day, we need to be competitive because our job is to give sellers 100% of as is value, and we make our profit margin from the end buyer, you know, from their potential that they're going to get from forcing appreciation. And so I want to be able to give a homeowner the most. I don't want to undercut them and take from their equity. I want to make sure that they're getting the best deal that they can possibly get. And for us, because we're the investor side of it, ours is a risk-based reward system. And so when we're talking to our potential buyer, well, okay, you've got an opportunity here to make $150,000. I want 10 of it. If you want to buy this opportunity from me. And that's where the value proposition is for what we do in wholesale, you know? And so I think the approach itself, when you look at it from that perspective, it becomes a win-win-win situation for everybody involved.
Yeah, when it comes to like lowball offers, we even tell the agent, like, listen, we're nowhere near what your seller wants, and we don't want to insult you or the seller.
Yeah.
But this is where we're at. We're not going to offer on it,
Yeah.
but we're just letting you know what the number is.
Yeah.
Now, this is just for us. This doesn't mean this is not for another investor that can do better at the numbers.
Yeah.
This is where we're coming at. And
Sure.
usually they respect that. And they're like, okay, thank you for that. Thank you for the feedback. We'll take it back and let you know. And then that's how
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You know,
Exactly.
it's just, it is what it is.
you're holding on to that relationship.
But we've had it where we've done that, and then like a week or two later, they come back and ask, like, "Hey, was that your highest and best?" So they at least still reached back out to really see if like, we would take it on, because there was that relationship of respect there, transparency that was there, that was developed through those text messages or phone calls.
Yeah, we actually had a condo in Mission Viejo. Same story. She offered, I think, a little over $700,000 for a condo, and so I was like, I'm at $595. Like that's where it's at.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, okay, we'll talk it over with the seller. 3 months later, and I was following up with her every month.
Yeah.
3 months later, she's like, okay, I think they're willing to accept your offer at $595. So $100K off the list or their asking price, because it was the market.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, a lot of times the agents get it wrong on their list price anyways, and so they got to come down. It's just a matter of time before they realize that that's the fact, right? So the continuing to follow up and making sure that they have you top of mind is the key. I'm sure there's going to be people watching this right now who are like, man, I want to kick it with these two dudes. How do I get a hold of them and do business with them? What's the primary market you guys are in right now, focused in on, and how do people reach out?
So our primary market, we have two markets. We have SoCal and Denver, Colorado. So Denver metro, surrounding areas, anywhere there. We made some great connections there, even with people in the Astro community like Michelle and Matt. And then in SoCal, I would say primarily focused on LA County and Orange County. Yeah. But that doesn't exclude anything like Riverside or San Diego or IE. But yeah, those are places that we like to dive into.
And how do people reach out to you?
I can either phone number,
IG, email, or whatever you guys want to give out.
IG is ChexMix, CHEXMX. And
then I'm at R_Felix09.
And then if you want to send us some deals, DEALS at chexcapital.com. So CHEX capital.com.
Yep.
Awesome. Folks, it's been great having you guys here. If you guys got value out of this episode, do us a favor and leave a comment for these two gentlemen in the comment section. And always remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because this is where you're going to find all the juicy details about this wonderful business of wholesale real estate. And until the next time, guys, we're out.